that did board channeling, and I had absolutely no idea what it was. They introduced me to it one evening. They invited me to come to a session. Walked in and sat down. The two people that were sitting by this circular board had letters and numbers on the outside, and they were using a shot glass instead of a planchette. And I went, what in the world is going on here? We sat down, and they started out, and the guides came in by saying, "Hello, Barry, we were waiting for you." And they proceeded to give me all of these messages about stuff that was going on back here in Pennsylvania. And I was just blown away with it. I couldn't believe what was taking place. So I asked them if I could be possible to learn to do this. And they were kind enough to teach me how to take up board channeling. We started working with other people. In the beginning, we would be on Skype, and I'd be in Pennsylvania, and they'd have the board out in Utah. And I'd ask questions, and they'd answer questions about what was taking place. And we found out that we really could communicate with spirits with this board. So we started asking questions, and my wife and I began to do it by ourselves. And things just started to happen. One question would lead to another, and I started writing books about it. My third book was called Afterlife, What Really Happens on the Other Side. And it was based on channeling sessions where we discussed the other side with the spirits, told us what was happening, so forth. We advanced a little bit in what we were doing, and we realized that we could basically talk to whoever we wanted to talk to, as long as they hadn't reincarnated and weren't back. So started to ask questions about conspiracies. One session we talked to Jack Kennedy. He tells us what took place with his own assassination and some other things in his life. We channeled with General Custer, George Patton. I wound up writing another book, and it was called Spirits Speak of Conspiracies and Mysteries. And in that we attacked 27 different conspiracies. We wound up channeling with just all kinds of people, and it was very interesting. So the more advanced we got, I started to take an interest in what was going on around us in the alien world. And one night I asked the spirit guides, I said, "Do aliens exist?" And they said, "Of course." I said, "Okay." It didn't seem so obvious to me. And I started asking more and more questions about it. So one night they tell me, "We're going to introduce you to a guide that can answer all your questions because he is one." And I said, "Is one what?" And he comes back and says, "Oh, he was an alien in his last life." Okay. Next session we get on the board, and in comes this guide, and he tells us that his name is Mu. And in his last life he was a blue alien, lived on a planet in our solar system. Or not in our solar system, in our galaxy, the Milky Way. Stood about 9.5 feet in life and lived to about 950 of our years. And I'm thinking, yeah, right, they're really pulling my leg on this one. But the more that we channeled with him and the more information he gave us, the more I realized, we really are talking to the spirit of an alien. So I asked him, I said, "How come we're able to channel with you and talk to you?" And his answer was that we all have the same soul energies, and that the aliens, the spirit energies in our galaxy all go to the same heaven. So if I could talk to a spirit energy that was a human in its last life, I could channel with any of these other types of spirit energies. And it was such a unique concept. I found it really difficult to believe, but we wound up channeling with him for probably 3 years off and on.
Oh, wow. This is the second or third book you've written about communication with aliens?
Second book about aliens.
Okay, so just so our listeners know, can you tell us how this is different from the other ones?
Well, the first book was called Aliens Among Us, Exploring Past and Present. And we went through a lot of the information that he gave us about ancient aliens. For instance, in that book, we talked about the Nazca lines in Peru. He told us what a lot of these of them stood for. For instance, if you're familiar with the Nazca lines, you'll see that there's a huge spider.
Yes.
Well, he told us that the spider stood for the alien type that was actually supporting the people down there, and they did that to memorialize the aliens that were helping them. And I said, what are you trying to tell me here? And he said, well, they were spider people, and those were that particular alien type that was on Earth at that point. And I said, well, how tall did these spiders stand? And he says they were around 7 feet tall. And I'm going, holy mackerel. You know, here we have a 7-foot spider down there. But the first book, we just went through a lot of stuff like that. We explored crop circles, what they stood for, why they take place. And then we got into a bunch of the current alien presence on Earth. Talked a little bit about what was going on, some information about alien types, but basically it was past and present. Now, this new book that came out, it kind of deals with the present and the future. Talks about what's going to take place in the future. In the current book, Spirit Speak of the Universe, I try to give everybody an understanding of the size of the universe. And actually, the size of the universe is unimaginable.
So here's the thing with homemade meals. Eating them is great, but all the chopping and measuring and cleanup, not so much. With new one-pan assemble and bake meals from Blue Apron, you get all the flavor of homemade meals with a fraction of the work. Just assemble the pre-chopped ingredients, bake in the oven, and enjoy. Shop, assemble, and bake at blueapron.com. Get 50% off your first 2 orders with code APRON50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Did you know that you can buy your car completely online on AutoTrader? Really? Just visit autotrader.com, filter and search through dealer listings for the car you want, make, model, color, and all the features that matter to you. Go ahead, get picky. Whether you're into subcompacts with heated cup holders, crossovers with all-wheel drive, pickups with kicking sound systems, or SUVs that can survive whatever chaos your kids unleash, just drop in your info and you'll only see cars in your budget. Really, once you find your one and only, you can do the whole deal online and have the car delivered to your driveway. Or you can pick it up at the dealership and drive your new ride right off the lot. Really. AutoTrader makes it easy to buy your car online because the whole process is designed around your wants and must-haves. AutoTrader. Buy your car online. Really.
Lowe's knows how to turn big plans into real results. Whether it's new appliances or a home refresh, get started with 12-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more with a MyLowe's Rewards credit card, January 15th through the 30th, so you can invest in your upgrade now and pay over time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer subject to credit approval and cannot be combined. Minimum monthly payment required. See store or Lowe's.com for details.
It's so gigantic. No one can really conceive of it.
Did he tell you that it was expanding like many believe it is?
Yes. Yeah. He said it was expanding. We got into things like how did the universe, how was it formed? We talked about black holes, wormholes, all kinds of things. We just cover a whole plethora of information in this current book. We also get into the spirituality of the universe. The fact that our God is the God of the galaxy. And who actually told us that on his planet, they worship the same God that we do. And apparently, God sends his son to all of these civilized planets. And on Moose Planet, they referred to him as the Wise One. And he was sent to them about 4,000 of our years ago. And they actually have a celebration on his planet very similar to our Christmas, where they celebrate his birth. We do an awful lot on the spirituality of our galaxy. We have a whole chapter that is dedicated to the universality of God. Talks about the powers of our God throughout our galaxy. Describes the fact that many of the planets are actually, the highly civilized planets are all very peaceful. And actually they all get along because they learned long ago with their incredible powers that how easy it would be to annihilate everybody. So, they came to the conclusion that, well, maybe we shouldn't get in everybody's faces and everybody gets along. We have a chapter dedicated to the committee that governs our galaxy. Everything is very well laid out. It tells us that there are plenty of other young planets similar to Earth. Humans have only walked this Earth for about 200,000 years. And he told us that aliens have visited Earth since the time of the dinosaurs, which were over 60 million years ago. So they've had an awful lot of evolution on humans.
Right. And okay, so let me jump in here real quick here,
Sure.
Barry. You always use the board though with your wife, right?
Yes.
You never use it with anyone else.
Yeah. No, I can. We're at a point now that I can basically use it with almost anybody, and we've advanced to the point now that we don't spell our words out anymore. I'm now hearing the messages as they're coming in my head, and I simply use the board to verify like the first letter of a word, so that I know that I'm hearing the right thing and that we're getting the proper messages. But no, we've been actually doing live channeling sessions on Facebook Live, and I mean we've gotten so fast with this now. A session of about 50 minutes will generate a transcript of around 2,500 words.
Now, I saw the picture in your book of the spirit of Mu. It was like a blue light. How did you get that? It was like a blue light or streak or something like that?
I took that photograph when I was photographing for my first book. That was on the Gettysburg battlefield. And I would actually use that photograph in my lectures. And I would say, I have no idea what this is. It's spirit energy of some nature. So as we progressed in the first book, one night I said, Mu, would it be possible for me to take a picture of you so I could put it in the book? And he came back to me and said, you've already photographed me twice. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. And he said, no, Connie knows what I'm talking about. And Connie says, were you that blue light that we have the photograph of? And he said, yes, that's one of them. And I actually have a second blue light photograph. And that was his spirit energy that he showed himself. And he did it like 2 years before I knew I wanted a picture of it.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, it's a very interesting picture. I know you got 2 of them in there. Now, let's go back to the spider beings.
Okay.
It's very interesting. It's really, really interesting. Now, have you looked and tried to see, if you can kind of validate what they're telling you as far as that's concerned? Have you heard anything else about these spider beings that once existed on the planet?
Well, I have heard this. I know, one thing that I now know is how much we underestimate just how many alien types are out there. For instance, there's a chapter in the book where I talk about their vehicles, and he told me that the vehicles go from the size of a baseball to one the size of the United States. And that took a little while to sink in, and I said, well, where is this thing that's the size of the United States? He says, well, they're in the planet of Saturn right now, so nobody sees it back there. And that's what they use as their base facility for their other motherships and so forth. But the question I then asked him was, well, how many different alien types would be on a ship of that size? And he said, probably over 250 different kinds. So there are many, many different types of extraterrestrials that we've never even conceived of out there.
Well, you know what? I can go ahead and definitely tell you that I've had 2 researchers. I've heard one actually on a lecture, but one I interviewed, and he told me about these spider beings himself, that they were here, and I had no idea that they had any correlation or anything having to do with the Nazca line.
Yeah, that was them. It's amazing. You'll find verification just comes out of nowhere with this stuff. It's so much of it is arranged by the spirit world. They want us to learn these things, and they tie it all together.
Definitely something to think about and dig into more. Now, Barry, have they told you anything about what's going on with our sun? I've heard so many people talk about they believe that our sun has some type of portal, something that allows these alien beings to just pop in and out of our end of the universe. Have they told you anything about that?
No, not about our sun. I mean, they've talked to me about the way they travel. Well, in order to understand how they travel, you got to understand a little bit about our current technology. Right now, we have a Voyager 1 out there, and it's just now going into the area of interstellar space where the sun no longer has gravitational effect, and it's been out there for 35 years. In order for that vehicle to travel to our closest star, it's going to take another 40,000 years. So the message is our technology does not get it done. Now, I asked Moo one time, I said, how long does it take for you to travel from your planet? And it's named Robe. It's on the far side of the Milky Way. He said about 2 days. So he can travel, 100 light years in the time that it takes us to drive to Salt Lake City. So they're way ahead of us on this technology. And he tried to describe to us the way it happens. And it's really pretty much like the beam me up, Scotty thing, where it's an intermolecular teleportation technique. But they can do it with these entire ships, and they can cover vast distances in times we can't even comprehend.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive. Most of you aren't just listening right now. You're driving, cleaning, and even exercising. But what if you could be saving money by switching to Progressive? Drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Multitask right now. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
Lowe's knows how to turn big plans into real results. Whether it's new appliances or a home refresh, get started with 12-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more with a MyLowe's Rewards credit card, January 15th through the 30th. So you can invest in your upgrade now and pay over time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer subject to credit approval and cannot be combined. Minimum monthly payment required. See store or Lowe's.com for details.
Skincare experts and dermatologists have often touted the benefits of indoor humidity as essential for healthy, glowing skin. But did you know dry air can start to harm your skin in as little as 30 minutes? For years, many people have relied on humidifiers for better skin, sleep, and overall wellness. But traditional models, bulky, mold-prone, and difficult to maintain. That's where Canopy Humidifier comes in. Recommended by leading dermatologists, Canopy is a completely reimagined humidifier designed to elevate any space, offering the ultimate in skincare and wellness benefits. Canopy's clean moisture combats dryness, dullness, and fine lines while strengthening the skin's barrier and boosting the effectiveness of topical skincare products. With its sleek design, Canopy is the cleanest and easiest humidifier on the market. With its unique technology, cleaning is as easy as popping it in the dishwasher. Go to getcanopy.co to save $25 on your Canopy humidifier purchase today with Canopy's filter subscription. Even better, use code PODCAST at checkout to save an additional 10% off your Canopy purchase. Your skin will thank you.
Okay. Are there alien beings on the planet with us right now?
Of course. Palladians are here with us. You can't tell a Palladian. I was actually introduced to one, and the woman suspected it, but didn't even realize that she was one. They've been here forever. Einstein's grandfather was a Palladian. That's why he was so gifted. They tell us that we have, that my wife and I both have alien blood in us. And it seems as though people with a lot of psychic abilities will often have this type of a background. This is my concept, but I think this is how some of these abilities get passed on. Is how we learn it. There are shapeshifters. When my wife was abducted, they used a shapeshifter to do that. There's all kinds among us. He told us that there are like 3 different types that can shapeshift. And if you knew what went on around us, you'd be utterly shocked.
All right, let's go back to some of the planets before I lose my focus on this. I don't want to forget this. I've always wanted to know about Venus. Now, like, again, I keep up with a lot of research, and some of them believe there's actual intelligent life on the planet now. We're not being told what's actually there. And one person that really comes to mind for me is Dr. Stranges, that lectured back in the 80s about an alien being that came to Washington, D.C. or showed up there called Valiant Thor. Now, he told them he came from Venus and that he wanted to give us things that would help us as far as our health is concerned. Basically trying to help humanity, okay, and help us live longer. What have they shared with you about the planet Venus?
Well, they tell us that right now there's nothing on Venus. There has in the past been life there. Basically, at one time or another, there's been life on all of our different planets. They tell us that there is current life on the moons of Jupiter. There are a couple moons that are actually fairly similar to Earth. And they tell us there's life there. And believe it or not, they tell us that there's a type of life form on Pluto. They get around. They really get around. They also tell us that the moon is hollow, and that on the backside of the moon there is an entrance. And when we had our exploration of the moon, and they came around from the backside, our astronaut made the comment that you can be sure that Santa Claus is real. That Santa Claus was a code word for aliens. They actually saw them on the backside. And apparently they also saw one of the huge ships were parked on the moon at the time. So they are here, there, and they're everywhere.
All right. Very good. Now, my special guest tonight is Barry Strom, and we are discussing his new book called Spirit Speak of the Universe, Extraterrestrial Spirituality, and Our Galaxy. And you can pick it up from Amazon, and we'll be back with more right after this.